Alright, hello and welcome back. I wanted to make some kind of video, one because Darian did do a formal, proper review of some of the new cards coming in the Mythical Island booster, but also because for the past couple of weeks I wanted to make some form of video talking about this game. However, I haven't really been able to construct a full video, nor did I have the time. So I saw an article that I normally would try and just gleam through and sort of just leave alone, but I am going to make an example out of it. It came out yesterday by a man named Ben Sledge. It's on thegamer.com. I will leave a link to this in the description for you. Gaming journalism is a very hard topic nowadays. Not only do people not really respect game reviews because there's this quote-unquote easy mode that a lot of people testing games before they release for reviews often do, and people often wonder, with the limited amount of time that people often have when they do get review copies, if they are simply cutting corners or not maximizing the actual experience intended for the game. This is very prevalent in MMORPGs, for example. You might get like a weekend playtest, but you're not really going to get the full experience the way that you would if you've been playing 1, 2, 3, 4 months in. With single player games, it's a little easier because you can technically beat the game, but with as much stuff as they put into big games, even Scarlet and Violet is a massive game that takes days to complete if you aren't streamlining the experience. So it's understood, and the way that I see it is that when you see a gaming website host an article, it's to catch your attention for a specific purpose. It might be the actual opinion of the person that's creating it. However, I like to argue that opinionated pieces can only reflect so much of a game and what it has to offer, and that's the biggest reason why I'm not focusing on that video that I want to make, and instead I'm deciding to make this one instead. So I'm going to talk through the article. I'm not going to read the whole article. I don't think that's fair to Ben that I read the entire thing, but it's not too long, and I do want to pick out some of the points that he sort of starts in, and I want to see where he's going with it as well. Now, I believe that most people are going to have this perspective about the game based on their own gaming experiences, and there's a lot of things that I don't like about TCG Pocket in the way that it's perceived, but I am going to talk a lot about sort of what my takes on the game are as we go through it. So firstly, he starts, I've enjoyed collecting cards in Pokemon TCG Pocket, but there are other elements of the game that I'm less keen on. Wonder picking is a lose-lose situation, the shop is barren, everything funnels you towards spending cash, the battles are stale, and so on. Now, the thing is, you gotta write a hook, especially with articles like this, so it makes sense that he would go off saying the most basic takes that he has possible, because he's going to expound upon them hopefully in the article. But the one thing I will say is wonder picking is an awkward mechanic. It is meant to help you collect, and it's obviously the best when you don't have anything. It's very good when you're first starting the game. I have a clip on the channel of my first wonder pick. It was a Articuno EX. Now, if I actually needed an Articuno EX, I'm not going to be able to actually get it because it's a 1 in 5 chance. But if you don't have a lot of cards, it's a win-win situation when you go into a wonder pick looking for one card and you get another. It's not that wonder pick is a lose-lose. It's that the wonder pick situation exists in a skew. It's skewed towards, I don't have a lot of these cards, let me go ahead and grab a new card. And if you get dupes, maybe you could do something interesting with those with the other systems in the game. The shop is barren, and everything funnels you towards spending cash. It's a little bit of a contradiction. The shop definitely doesn't have much going for it, but that is a positive. If you've played Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links and you go to the shop in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, you will see basically what I mean there. Every pack that you pull in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links has the pay to win option hovering, usually with sales right there in your face. And while yes, they do have the Poke Gold sales, if you're purchasing Poke Gold, you aren't obtaining anything. That is currency. I have accrued some through the savings that I've done for the game so far. I have not put money into it just for the sake of money into it. The only thing that I'm really spending money on right now is the premium pass, and I think the premium pass is a really good deal. Not only do you get the exclusive Pikachu, Mewtwo, and soon Charizard cards, but you're also able to pull a third pack every day, which is the core it's the core function of the game. And then the Bowser style is also subjective. It's obvious this is an opinion piece. We're gonna go through some of it. So he states that he hasn't dipped his toes back in after an event finished because it's not fun, and that's fair. If he's not having fun, he shouldn't play the game. But also, if he's not having fun, it'd probably be better to write something else. But that's how you get clicks nowadays. Obviously, I'm reading it because it helps me form my opinions better, because he has a lot of opposite opinions. There's too much RNG. Misty is downright broken, and everyone plays the same two boring decks. Now, stop me if you've heard that one before. That's just the opinion that people have. That's how metas work, especially at the start of a game. If you look at any single version of a card game, it cracks down to be the same way. Especially with small pools early, card games thrive on players developing the meta. They did not set out to make cards this way. This is how the players have crafted the game from the tools available. Now, I will say, they have made it so that different cards have different set ideas implanted in their playstyle. For example, he talks about Starmie EX and Mewtwo EX. Starmie EX is very good at playing fast. If you have Staryu Starmie together, or you have Misty flipping you one single heads, you're going to have pretty high tempo. And if you're playing Mewtwo, you're not playing for high tempo. You're not playing for the first 1 to 2 turns. You're trying to hit a board state that allows you to maximize Mewtwo EX, or whatever psychic type, it could even be Golurk, that you're using. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that there are some decks that are better than others. Again, combining Mewtwo and Gardevoir is the reason why Mewtwo EX is good. Starmie EX being 0 retreat cost, 1 stage evolution, 2 energy cost for 90 damage, and the fact that players are able to identify that strength is the reason why it's strong. A card can be broken, and players can take a very long time to understand that and develop a keen strategy for it, which is why the Mythic Island booster pack is going to be so exciting as it's coming into the game, because we are going to get access to more tools with which we can take things that might already be decent in the game and elevate it to a higher level. It's not always A1 is dead now that A1A is out, or A2 is out, so now A1 and A1A are dead. Sometimes things will slide through, combine from one set to the next, and create something brand new. And that's where the fun of card games comes from. That's just how card games have always worked. In my years of experience playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's always how it worked. Especially because in Yu-Gi-Oh!, there are no limits to what you can do with your decks. In Pokemon, energy cards will gate the creativity and guide it so you don't go too out of bounds. But normal monsters such as Kangaskhan and Meowth are obviously there, and they exist, and they give you more function. Ditto exists. If that were a good card, that would be the key example. Now, he also argues that Misty is the most powerful card in the game, but RNG aside, Misty is a good card if you land 1 heads. By hitting a single heads on Misty, you have skipped a turn in energy generation, because you can only place 1 energy per turn. And so the way that it works with Misty is that you take the gamble. It's all or nothing. Either you flip 1 heads or you flip 0. Every other option doesn't necessarily change the game all too much, right? If you hit 2 to 3, that's probably like 200% value, right? Or 300% value, depending on how you want to look at it. But if you hit 4 or 5, it's a diminishing return, because unless you're playing Blastoise EX or Lapras, you're not really getting that much out of it. And if you are playing Blastoise EX or base Lapras, hitting heads is the only way that you can maximize that card. And so again, it's not that Misty is broken, it's just that in the situations by which Misty enables Articuno or Starmie to pop off turn 1 or turn 3, it's going to feel weighted against you. But if you yourself played these decks and you were flipping coins and keeping track of how many Misties you played, you would quickly see that the card is not make or break. And the way that you play Misty shouldn't be dependent on the maximum outcome, it should be dependent on the minimum outcome. If landing 1 heads is not the ideal situation, then Misty's not the card that you want to play. If landing 1 heads is not what you need, then Misty is not the best card for the situation. It's a 50-50 chance. If I land one heads, I get 1 energy. If I land 1 tails, it shouldn't make or break my gameplay. That's how Misty works in my mind, and I'm pretty sure that if you took some time, you could probably see that, and you could probably agree with that. It's not hitting 3, 4, 5 heads that makes Misty broken. It's just hitting the 1, and then if you hit 2, it'll multiply that power. But if you don't, I mean, you might as well forfeit if you're in a situation where you absolutely needed it. And that's, again, the ups and downs of Misty. But that creates interesting variance in gameplay, and it actually makes it so that you have to think about a card like that. Obviously, it'd be great to slam Misty turn 1 every game and just try to hit heads. But again, you could take that out of Starmie EX base by itself and have 0 impact on the deck at all. It's mostly Articuno or stacking a second Starmie EX or a Greninja or a Lapras or whatever card you throw in the water deck. That's where Misty can become a little bit exploitable if you get lucky. But at a base level, again, I will say it's not the end of the world. Now, he then states, here's a sneak peek at what Pokemon TCG Pocket's Mythical Island booster set will add to the game. Is it counterplay to Mewtwo or Starmie? Some Dark or Lightning type synergies perhaps? No, it's made the best decks better and left the rest of us in the dirt. Now, they revealed Marshadow. Fighting isn't necessarily that great of a deck. It's gated mainly by energy, and then Marowak EX is gated by coin flips. So it's not... To play Mankey Primate, for example, Primate can be really, really strong, especially with the Mankey that they released in the Wonder Pick event. But was it the Wonder Pick event? Or it's the Lapras event, sorry. The Lapras EX event. But the problem is if your opponent can just take out the Mankey, take out the Primate, or the Primate doesn't have damage on it at all, it's stuck at like a 40 base power. I don't think there's any other actually good fighting type card in the game without evolutions. Like Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee might as well not be played. And then obviously the Machoke line's solid. Cubone Marowak is okay. Diglett Dug Trio is whatever. None of these cards you run into and you're just immediately scared of them, outside of maybe Machamp EX and the fact that Marowak EX is on board. So adding Marshadow to the game already is a pretty big convenience for people that want to play fighting type decks, because then they might have something better to play around. Now, he did say the highlight is Mew EX, and Mew EX isn't a bad card, but it does, again, require you to have some game knowledge, some matchup knowledge, and there's a lot of things that are going to go into using that 3 energy cost attack that will allow you to use any move on board. But it definitely is going to be a fun card, like he says. And then he's upset about Vaporeon. I think Vaporeon's a cool card. I think it helps aid the main idea of like Misty and water type decks, which is that you want to get your units stacked up with energy. I think having energy flow be a main focus for water is not a bad idea. It's really the only one that does it outside of Lieutenant Surge plus Magneton, so we don't really have that much of it in the game currently. and you have to take the water energies that are on bench and put it on an active Pokemon, which means that you have to put those on board to begin with. So Misty actually becomes a little bit more of a requirement in a deck situation like that, because Washout requires you to have that energy available, and then you can't move it from an active Pokemon to a bench Pokemon. You can't use it to set up anything. You have to properly retreat, put something in, have Eevee, evolve it into Vaporeon, and then if you want to try and make it stronger, 3 energy cost for a water type that does 60, fairly balanced, except for the fact that of course you do have Washout. So there's a chance that you can get this thing online, but it's going to take a couple of turns. It's actually slower than Starmie EX. It's probably even slower than Articuno, because Articuno doesn't have to evolve. It's a basic, you get in hand turn 1. Even if you ran 2 Vaporeon, 2 Eevee, the Eevee is going to be a complete hindrance to your game plan. It'll be an easy Sabrina target. There's so many reasons why Vaporeon is going to come out and it's going to be good, but it's not going to be meta defining. But once it is out there, then yeah, just like with Mewtwo EX plus Gardevoir, you get a big boost to your deck. Okay, so I'll point out this line. This silliness in conjunction with Misty, allowing you to attach 11 energies to your Pokemon in 1 turn. I mean, at that point, he even jokes, that's what my opponent always seems to get. Like, that again is just it just takes away the fairness of the points that I just made. It's just, okay, well, if my opponent is playing Misty, they're going to have all the energies in the world. Most of the time, those Misties are hitting either 1 heads or 1 tails. And that's going to be the majority of the time the outcome. If it's 2 to 3 energy, feel free to scoop. It's not that big a deal. It's not something that happens every game. It's not a card that says put 3 to 11 energy on your Pokemon. It's a flip. Just like every other flip in the game. There's a lot of flips in the game. So the idea that because now Misty plus Vaporeon is a good combo, the game's just gonna be broken, I just don't agree with that. And again, the thing with Mewtwo EX is that when Mewtwo EX attacks, it then loses 2 energy. So even though Gardevoir is there to stack it up, it's similar to Ninetales, similar to Charizard. The payoff for having such a strong attack is that you have to use it wisely, and you have to know what your energy loss is going to be just as much as your energy gain. And again, water types not having that gate and just being a fluid energy stream is a cool idea. And the fact that there is a downside and that you can miss makes it more balanced than the Vaporeon looks on its own. Now, we really only saw a handful of cards, and a lot of the cards that they did show in the trailer repeated in the imagery. So outside of like a Pikachu that Darian saw at some point, there's not that many new cards actually coming into the game. There's not actually a lot of new cards in the trailer, and we did see Snivy, we saw Larvesta, so those lines are probably in the game. But the main thing is that there are 80 total cards, and if Vaporeon is the one that they advertise, there are 79 other cards in the set, including the Aerodactyl EX that he didn't even mention, because again, fighting type cards exist. It's gonna be really good to see a lot of new cards. And then A2 is gonna come out. It might have a completely different direction for the game, and that's just part of the TCG experience. And a lot of players might be TCG players, but they might not like TCGs. I, for one, haven't done that many streams of the current event because PvP is not the core focus of the game. Collection is. The Emblem events, you don't actually miss out on anything for not completing it. But a lot of people are upset that to quote unquote complete the event, you have to win 5 battles in a row. I don't care. I don't care. And I would argue that you shouldn't care either. It's just cosmetics. It's emblems. There's going to be tons of emblem events. This is just the second one. It's not a big deal if competitively you don't win 5 rounds in a row and get to show off that emblem. But the players that do, congratulations to them for putting in that effort. The highest I've gotten was 3, and I didn't even hit the 3rd one because I threw the 3rd game. So it's like, okay, I'm not really enjoying this event. I'm not going to focus on that right now. I'll go and focus on Pokemon Auto Chess. I'll focus on completing my 150 for Mew. It's a collection game, first and foremost. But the game also is not designed to make money the way in which it looks, because it actually sets you up to pace out your gameplay experience. Now, again, if you've played Duel Links, you know every single week there's a new event. And every week the event changes. Sometimes there are PvP events, a lot of times there are PvE events that have quote unquote brand new cards that they add to the game. So you're constantly going in to get these brand new cards, and there's no cap to how much you can play. As opposed to our Lapras EX and our current Venusaur events, where you do get to have a natural flow and pace. You can play maybe 2 a day after the first day, so you max out on your content day 1, and then you have a steady stream of content that you log in for maybe twice a day. And that also goes with your 2 to 3 packs. And based on timing, you're basically logging in only twice for that too. So unlike other games like it, TCG Pocket really gives you a lot of downtime to live your life, play other games, do other things. And outside of a ranked mode, which will hopefully come to the game at some point, there is no reason to stay logged onto this game more than like a half hour at a time, maybe even 15 minutes at a time, maybe even 30 seconds at a time. It really just depends on what you're logging in to do. You can grind PvP events. You can always have the option to play against other players outside of the event. So there is a draw for people that want to stream the game, that want to record cool decks that they're coming up with, to just play against other people and play some Pokemon. That's available in the game. But you are not being dictated on your time with this game, which is healthy, which is a positive. And again, if you aren't grinding 24/7, your incentive to actually spend money on the game is going to go down, because there's not much to do with the money that you spend in the game. And that's a good thing. As long as they're adding new content and they're keeping you engaged bit by bit over a week, then there should be no problem. But people do have a really big problem because they can't win the event, because they want things to buy in the first place. There's a lot of whales in the game, obviously. They want things to come out all the time because that's the pace that they're on. They want new experiences daily. They want to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different things on the game daily. And it's not healthy, especially for a mobile game. There's other games like MMOs, which do reward you for that time, but this game is not here to reward you for that time. So putting in that effort in the first place is very misguided, and honestly it might be better to reel that in until they put in something like a ranked mode, or a new event comes out, or the new set comes out. And again, the idea that this game is a cash grab of some sorts is really misguided as well, because there's nothing to buy. There really is nothing to buy in this game. If you want to accelerate your packs, there's a cap to how much money you can put into the game daily. So if you want to, go ahead. But again, it's going to be a diminishing return because we've had one expansion the whole time. What are you spending the money on? You're not directly getting anything from it that other players don't have access to. Even if you're pulling a lot of dupes, most, if not all players after the month should have most, if not all of the cards. And that, again, that varies greatly. I don't have all the cards. There's some cards I don't have at all. But in terms of the cards that actually matter, the cards that are meta, the cards that are competitive, that you would want to use against other people, most people should have decks completed. Especially because they put out the Arcanine EX Blaine event, so you can even get access to something like Ninetales. Ninetales is a very basic 2-diamond card that everybody could use in a good deck revolving around Blaine. So that was most of the article. I hit the major points. Again, the job of these kinds of people with this kind of job is to grab your attention and just talk to you about how they feel. And my big thing is the goal of TCG Pocket and what players want to expect don't line up at all. The game is very collection focused. You do not have to spend a single dollar to play this game. Everybody knows that. And there's a cap to how much you can spend, so players aren't necessarily racing ahead of everybody else. They're sure people have completed their collection, but a lot of the cards that we have aren't even that good. Like Nidos, for example, aren't that great of a deck, but you can collect them. Ditto, completely useless card. You can collect it. Caterpie to Butterfree is a card with some interesting aspects to Butterfree, but people don't play it. It's not currently competitive, I guess you could say. And people are playing these cards and people are trying all the cards that they get out. But the main thing is we are collecting cards. We are getting 2 free packs a day. I spend $10 on my renewal just came out today. I spend 10 a month so I can get that 3rd pack. I'm okay with that. I'm complacent with that. I'm okay with that. It's really down to your own morals, your own understandings of what is healthy for you that dictate whether or not these are good games. Traditional TCG players are saying that the game's completely useless because it's virtual. People are going to have different opinions. I think we should all just understand that and then just be realistic about where our standards apply to TCG Pocket. As a little side note before we close, I was very big into Pokemon Unite when it released. That game is a logistical nightmare, both in how it gives players power, and that developed over time. On release, it wasn't that bad at all, but the developers continued to push that envelope. $60 to get a skin, battle passes, and unlocking Pokemon are they're using it to completely gate those experiences instead of reward players. If you buy the battle pass, you can unlock stuff ahead of time. If you buy the character with money, you can play it now. If not, you have to wait. It is really ridiculous the way that they have branded that game over the years. And TCG Pocket, again, furthest from it. This wasn't a scripted video, so hopefully I edited it down. It makes sense. Please respond responsibly to my points down in the comments, and feel free to start a discussion with me. Again, I will link this article in the description because it really did help me just sit down and talk about my thoughts on the game. I'm not going to be able to make a fully scripted video for this, but maybe in the future I will try. I'm trying to focus content on stuff that I want to do and not reactions, so I'm not really going in depth with every single thing that comes out. Darian's done it. 50 million other people have done it. A lot of people are just doing that to keep up with the content trend, but we're really excited. Darian and I are both really excited for this expansion, and we hope that there's some new decks and some new cards that really stand out and really make us excited to play. Hopefully the next Emblem event will be a little more interesting as well, but even if it's not, again, we're here to collect cards. Until the next time, I hope you take care.